Alright, good morning. This is another video about what is listed as a constant current electronic load battery capacitor tester module, and this one in particular can handle 200 volts DC and up to 150 watts. You've probably seen it in a few of my videos in the past. I've just been putting it off doing a video on it till I had a proper chance to use it several times. I'm not going to go super in depth into this thing. There's other videos where people have done stuff like that. Just give you a quick kind of rundown. When you turn it on, first off, there's not really any good instructions that come with this thing. The power comes in the back in this location. Confusingly, they have another connector here that is the same size. If you plug into that one, it doesn't seem to hurt anything, but I wouldn't advise that you do it. You can also plug power into this USB connector, though I've never tried that. On the side, we have some test connectors where you can hook up things you want to put under load, or that output voltage and you want to put them under load. We have a standard USB connector, we have a couple of just screw terminals, we have a female DC connector, and we have 3 different USB connectors, even a USB-C it looks like. There is a connector here which might be for another, I think this is, oh, I remember what this is. This is for connection to a cutoff. Basically, if you want to hook it up, you can hook something up through a relay, and then when this alarm goes off, it will, I believe it'll turn off whatever's connected to this, or turn on. I don't remember, I haven't used it. And it will, that's for controlling the load when the load gets down below a certain amount. Some caveats with this thing. Number one, when you go to turn it on, make sure both of these dials are all the way rotated to the left, all the way at 0. You don't want to turn this thing on with it accidentally applying a giant load. It can easily short out things, and I have read many people complain, probably through their own stupidity, that they blew up whatever's under this heat sink. I don't know if it's some kind of MOSFETs or what it is. I'm not taking it apart. I'm very careful with mine, and so it works pretty well. And it's mostly accurate. In fact, there's a way to calibrate it. I'm going to run it through and start it. This is how usually when you get it, that it comes. Everything's in Chinese, and you just press the button, and it translates it to English. The temperature rating on here is centigrade or Celsius, and you can't change that. It doesn't do Fahrenheit as far as I can find. Each time you press it, you get a different screen. This one is the one I usually use. It's got big numbers, you can read it. Shows you the voltage and amperage, watts, temperature, amp hours, watt hours and the amount of time, and you can clear these by double pressing this button. If you saw, I hit twice and it cleared the amp hours, and if I do it 3 times, clears the watt hours, and then 4 times is the time. So now it's reset everything to 0. Here's another screen. I use this one also. This turns on the backlight. This sets the maximum voltage, at which when you hit that voltage, it will warn you or cut off. I've set it below 200, although I don't plan on ever using it at 200 volts. Understand something, that depending on your voltage depends on the maximum amperage you can apply. So at 200 volts, you're only going to get, what is it? You can only apply 1.3 amps before this thing will overload. This screen, I believe, is used for calibration of the volts. Basically, you put in, I think it's 34 volts, and then you do some adjustments, which I don't remember how to do. I think there's some videos, other videos, and it will and then also in this one you put a load on it of 15 amps, and you adjust this to read 15 amps, and or no, I'm sorry, let's do this again. This is the voltage that it will, when it's doing a battery test, when the voltage gets down to this, it will set off an alarm. I've set it to 0 because it becomes very annoying. There's no way to disable it. This is the maximum amperage, I think. It's been a while since I've used this fully. This is the maximum wattage that you can put on this, and then it'll cut off. And I think that's about it. So let's put some voltage on this thing. You can see that we've got 17 volts ish, and you can see that if I move this course adjustment, also the fan comes on at 0.5 amp no matter what. And then you can do fine adjustments with this one. You can just do adjustments with the fine. I used this when I was testing a bunch of sealed lead acid batteries that I was trying to desulfate to see if there was any improvement in their amp hour ratings, and it worked very well for that. You could set the voltage that you wanted it to discharge to, and then when it reached that, it sets off an alarm and it cuts off the discharge current. And then it also reports how many amp hours you were able to discharge. It worked pretty good for that. It seemed to be somewhat accurate. There's supposedly people who make cases for these things, but they want quite a bit of money for them. And the way this thing is designed, it's not really conducive for sitting in a case. So if you notice, as I change the amps, let me see if I can find a better screen. So this is the thing about when you're testing stuff with this. You have to be very careful about what you're doing and keep your eye on the watt ratings. That's one of the important ones. You can see here 16.86 watts, and you know, as the voltage changes, that goes from 3 all the way up to 24 watts, and all I've done is change the voltage. So if you're not careful, you can easily exceed the watt rating of this thing if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So you have to always pay attention to the watts and keep your volts and amps within that range. That's why it's so important to start this out at with these dials all the way rotated to the left. I think that's about it. That's all I remember about the thing off the top of my head. Like I said, there's other people who've done much more definitive videos on programming the thing. The only thing I've done is, like I said, I added these Anderson power pole connectors, because almost everything I work on has got these. I think that's about it. Later.